Hey guys, I hope everybody had a good holiday season. I did, and I am ready to be back and make some quality content for you guys. The case I'm going to be discussing today is actually a solved case and one with a somewhat good ending. I'm going to go into the details of what happened, and today I actually have a lot of clips to add in for you guys. I don't own any of these clips, just off the top, and I am going to be using them with fair use, and I will link everything in my description box below as usual. This is a case I've heard about for many years. I also read the book that was written by two of the girls involved in it. It was fantastic, horrifying, but a well-written book, an account of what happened to them. This case, I guess, is what has come to be known as the Ariel Castro kidnappings. Now, a quick background on Castro. He was born in Puerto Rico on July 10th of 1960. As a child, he moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where members of his extended family already lived. In 1992, Castro bought a house at 2207 Seymour Avenue. He initially lived there with his wife and 4 children. However, Castro was allegedly violent with his wife, and she left him in 1996, taking custody of their children as well. Now, there are many reports online that the home has since been demolished. However, if you look it up on Google Maps, it's blurred out as if there is a structure there, as if there is a home there. I don't know if this is just a very old image from Google Maps or if something has been rebuilt there and the people who own that property have requested privacy. Let's get into the victims and exactly what happened. The first victim that we'll speak of is Michelle Knight. She was born April 23rd, 1981, and disappeared on August 23rd of 2002 after leaving a cousin's house. She was 21 years old at the time. On the day of her disappearance, she was scheduled to appear in court for a child custody case involving her son Joey, who was at the time in the custody of the state.
I was so super excited to get to the appointment, and then I couldn't find the place.
She was pretty desperate, so she walked over to a Family Dollar store to ask the clerk where this address was.
And then my best friend's father comes into the store, and
He gets you to the appointment to the custody
he said, "I know where it's at. I can take you straight to it." So I got into his car. We started talking about how his daughter was at home, and I was like, it would be super nice to see her.
Now, following Knight's rescue, police acknowledged that limited resources had been spent on investigating her disappearance, in part because she was an adult. Authorities actually believed that she had run away voluntarily due to anger over losing custody of her son, which is really heartbreaking considering how long she was gone for and the fact that her son may have heard this information from someone. According to Cleveland Deputy Police Chief Ed Tomba, I apologize, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, she was, quote, the focus of very few tips. Some have criticized her removal from the National Crime Information Center database. This happened 15 months after she disappeared, so she was largely unknown prior to her rescue. Cleveland police and the FBI maintained that her inclusion or exclusion had no bearing on her rescue.
He shoved me in the room and he said, "You're not gonna leave for a long time." And then he starts undressing himself. And he ripped up my son's picture right in front of me. The only picture I had, and said, "You'll never see him."
The next victim is Amanda Marie Berry. She disappeared on April 21st, 2003, the day before her 17th birthday. She was last heard from around 8 p.m. when she called her sister to tell her she was getting a ride home from her job at Burger King.
I had gotten off of work early that day, and I worked at Burger King. I called my sister for a ride. She was at work, and I had called a friend for a ride, and he didn't answer, so I just started walking. And as I was walking, there was a van, and it was in a driveway that I had to go around. I looked up, saw a man and a girl in the van. The girl looked like someone that I had worked with, so, I smiled at them, continued to walk. A couple minutes later, the van pulls up, and he says, "Do you need a ride?"
The FBI initially considered her a runaway until a week after her disappearance, when an unidentified man used her cell phone to call her mother. He said, quote, "I have Amanda, she's fine, and will be coming home in a couple of days." Berry was featured in the 2004 segment of Fox's America's Most Wanted, which re-aired in 2005 and 2006, which actually linked her to Gina Dejesus, who we'll get into next, who by that point had also gone missing in Cleveland. Barry and Dejesus were profiled on the Oprah Winfrey Show and the Montel Williams Show, where self-proclaimed psychic Sylvia Brown told Barry's mother, Luana Miller, in 2004 that her daughter was dead and that she was, quote, in water. This pronouncement devastated her mother, causing her to take down pictures and give away Barry's computer. However, Miller continued to search for Barry before dying from heart failure in early March 2006. Now, both of these girls, as we will get into also with Gina Dejesus, our next victim, were offered a ride by Ariel Castro, were taken. They were taken to his home and chained up in different rooms of the house, where he would then continue to beat and sexually assault these women for years to come. Later that year, December 25th of 2006, Barry actually gave birth to a daughter who was the daughter of Ariel Castro, which has been confirmed by DNA. Now, a prison inmate who lived in Tremont by the name of Robert Wolford actually claimed in July of 2012 that he had information about the location of Barry's body when she was not dead. He led police to an empty lot on Cleveland's west side, where they conducted a fruitless search. He was actually sentenced in January 2013 to 4.5 years in prison for obstruction of justice, making a false report, and making a false alarm. Now, our third victim, Georgina, known as Gina, Lynn Dejesus, went missing at the age of 14. She was last seen at a payphone around 3 p.m. on April 2nd of 2004, while on her way home from her middle school. At the time, she was friends with Ariel Castro's daughter, Ariel Castro. Shortly before Gina disappeared, she and Ariel had called Arlene's mother for permission to have a sleepover at the Dejesus house, but her mother replied that they could not, and the two girls parted ways. Ariel was the last person to see Gina before her disappearance. Now, Castro again offered this girl a ride. Gina was under the impression that he was picking her up to drop her off at her home, and she trusted him because she was friends with his teenage daughter.
I was walking home from school with his daughter, Ariel Castro, and she used the payphone to call her mom to ask her if she could come to my house. And her mom said no, she went her other way, and I went the other way. He asked me if I seen his daughter, and I said yes, and he was like, can you help me find her? I was like, yes, and then he didn't turn around. We ended up going to his house.
No one witnessed her abduction, and an Amber Alert was not issued, which angered her father. He said in 2006, quote, "The Amber Alert should work for any missing child. Whether it's an abduction or a runaway, a child needs to be found. We need to change this law." Because of course they assumed she had run away, as sadly happens with a lot of children that go missing, especially in their teenage years. Now, a year after her disappearance, the FBI released a composite sketch and description of a male suspect, described as Latino, 25 to 35 years of age, 5 foot 10 inches, 165 to 185 pounds, with green eyes, a goatee, and possibly a pencil-thin beard. According to court records, Castro was 5'7", 179 pounds, with brown eyes and a goatee. Now, as stated earlier, Gina was actually featured in America's Most Wanted segment that linked her to Amanda Berry. The disappearances received regular media attention in 2012, while the families held public vigils. Castro attended at least 2 of these vigils, reportedly participated in a search party, and tried to get close to the Dejesus family. Castro's son Anthony was a journalism student in 2004, and he interviewed Dejesus' mother for an article about the disappearances in the Plain Press. Police kept this investigation open and offered a $25,000 reward for information. According to Castro's uncle, his family knew the Dejesus family and had lived in the same West Cleveland neighborhood. Castro eventually claimed that he was not aware that Gina was a member of the Dejesus family when he abducted her. Scary fact, at the time of the kidnappings, Ariel Castro was a school bus driver for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. Now, Castro kept the women chained in his basement for years before moving them to barricaded rooms upstairs. I believe there's a clip in their interview with the BBC about them not being allowed to speak to each other, or there being walls between the three of them. So while they were held captive by this man for about 10 years, differing between each girl, they barely knew each other.
Yeah.
And how did he chain you, Gina, when you
Well,
were
my
chained?
chain went through her wall to my wall, like through a wall, because her room and my room were connected, so it went straight through a wall. And then it like divided from my ankle to Michelle's ankle.
It must have been terrible to have the chains on all the time. But also, when he was abusing you physically, he had you sometimes in the same room.
There was only like a couple of times that happened with me, and
Throughout their captivity, Castro restrained the women and subjected them to multiple sexual assaults. Prosecutors at Castro's sentencing wrote that diaries kept by the women, quote, speak of forced sexual conduct, of being locked in a dark room, of anticipating the next session of abuse, of the dreams of Sunday escaping and being reunited with family, of being chained to a wall, of being held like a prisoner of war, of missing the lives they once enjoyed, of emotional abuse, of his threats to kill, of being treated like an animal, of continuous abuse, and of desiring freedom. The women were kept in locked upstairs bedrooms where they were forced to use plastic toilets that were, quote, emptied infrequently. They were fed 1 meal a day and allowed to shower twice a week at most. Huge, huge trigger warning. If you are affected at all by pregnancy loss, things of that nature, you do not want to watch this video. Now, somewhere amidst all of these assaults, Knight became pregnant, which actually happened several times for her. And Castro starved and beat her until she miscarried. He terminated her 5+ pregnancies by beating her with dumbbells. But while he ended Knight's pregnancies, he actually allowed Barry's pregnancy to go to full term, but forced her to give birth inside of a plastic swimming pool. Castro made Knight deliver Barry's baby and threatened to kill her if that child did not survive. This is disgusting on so many levels. While I doubt that Knight wanted to have a child in captivity, while I doubt she wanted to have Castro's child, while I doubt any of that, to put her through what he put her through and then force her to deliver this woman's child is disgusting to me. Castro often took Barry's child with him to run errands and visit family, claiming she was the child of his girlfriend. While holding the women captive in his home, Castro maintained a seemingly normal outside life. Family members still came to visit him, though he used locks to keep them from going into the basement and other parts of the house. And he continued to work as a school bus driver until he was fired in November of 2012. And he played bass guitar with some local music groups. Now, on May 6th of 2013, after realizing Castro had neglected to lock, quote, the big inside door, Barry began screaming for help.
I come outside, I see this girl going nuts, trying to get out of her house. I go on the porch, and she says, help me get out. I've been in here a long time. So, I figured it's a domestic violence dispute. So I open the door, and we can't get in that way because how the door is, it's so much that a body can't fit through, only your hand. So we kick the bottom, and she comes out with the little girl, and she says, call 911. My name is Amanda Berry.
2 neighbors heard Barry's pleas and quickly kicked a hole through the bottom of the storm door. Barry then crawled through the hole with her 6-year-old daughter. When on the phone with 911, Barry exclaimed,
help me, I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years and I'm here, I'm free now.
Shortly after, officers entered Castro's home and rescued Knight and Dejesus. Ariel Castro was arrested the same day. On July 26th, he pled guilty to 937 charges, which included kidnapping, rape, and murder. The murder charge stemming from his role in ending one of Knight's pregnancies. On August 1st, 2013, Castro was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 1,000 years. Since his arrest, Castro had shown little remorse for his crimes. While in custody, he asked to see Barry's child, a request the court denied. In court, Castro insisted, quote, "I'm not a monster, I'm sick." His daughter, his older daughter, spoke to CNN, saying she was disgusted and horrified and had no intention of ever seeing him again.
All these weird things that I've noticed over the years, like about, how he kept his house locked down so tight, certain areas, and, how if we'd be out at my grandma's having dinner, he would disappear for an hour or so and then come back, and there would be no explanation where he went. Like, everything's making sense now. It's all adding up. And I'm disgusted. I'm horrified.
Now, in a strange turn of events, Castro was found hanged in his prison cell at the Correction Reception Center in Orient, Ohio, at 9:20 p.m. on September 3rd of 2013. After prison medical staff tried unsuccessfully to resuscitate Castro, he was transported to the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, roughly 20 miles outside of the Orient. At 10:52 p.m. that evening, he was pronounced dead. The following month, speculation surfaced that Castro's death might not have been a suicide, but rather caused by autoerotic asphyxiation, which is a sexual act in which individuals achieve pleasure through choking themselves, ultimately causing them to lose consciousness. Countering those assertions, the medical examiner who conducted Castro's autopsy stated that she wholly believed that Castro had planned his death. She stated, quote, "I did the autopsy myself. I saw the ligature. I saw the pictures of the cell. It was a suicide." Now, understandably, Ariel Castro's former neighbors harbor both guilt and unease about the happenings at 2207 Seymour Avenue. And the flocks of folks who gawk at the lot where Castro's house once stood have justifiably become a nuisance. Quote, "It's like being a monkey in a cage," said Anthony Westry, a 30-year-old resident of the neighborhood. He also said, "We don't want to be the people that people point at anymore." Hey guys, future editing Haley here. I am almost done editing this video, and I realized that there is not an update to this case, but another case connected to it that I wanted to fill you guys in on, so that this was a full report of, I guess, the Castro family doings. This has to do with his daughter, one of his daughters. Now, this is not the same daughter that I spoke of, or that I had a clip of earlier, publicly condemning her father. This is another daughter. I do want to preface this with a trigger warning. This has to do with child abuse, infant abuse, to be specific. It's okay if that bothers you. Please click away from the rest of this video. The rest of this has nothing to do with the case of the 3 girls in Cleveland. It is a completely separate case, but I just wanted to include it as it is tied to the Castro family. So if that is at all a trigger warning for you, this is as far as you need to go in this video. The daughter of Ariel Castro, I'm going to read these from 2 articles that I found on this information, and those articles are linked below along with all of my other sources that I used for this video. The daughter of Ariel Castro, the main suspect in the kidnappings and decade-long imprisonment of 3 Cleveland women, is serving 25 years in jail for slashing her baby daughter's throat. Now, I want to say the baby is okay. I'll touch on that again in a minute. Emily Castro was convicted in Indiana in February of 2008 of trying to kill her 11-month-old daughter, Janilla. I believe that is the pronunciation of this, but I apologize if I'm getting that wrong. Castro, then 19, slashed the little girl's neck 4 times and then sliced herself in the neck and wrists during a grisly attack at her Fort Wayne home in April of 2007, according to court documents. Cops who visited the home on reports of an injured child found the young mother smeared with blood, mud, and water. Paramedics were called, and on the way to the hospital, Castro told police she cut herself with the same knife she used to attack the baby and then tried to drown herself in a creek. That's according to appeal documents in 2008. The baby survived the attack and made a full recovery. During the trial in Allen Superior Court, defense attorneys argued Castro suffered from manic depression and was paranoid that her family was trying to kill her baby. The brutal attack occurred amid some trouble between Castro and the baby's father, D'Angelo Gonzalez. The day before, Gonzalez, who was Castro's boyfriend since 2005, had moved out of their apartment for the 3rd time. Prosecutors argued the attempted murder was payback. At the trial, Castro told the court, quote, "I don't know how this happened. I want you to know I am a very good mom." Her brother, Anthony Castro, also spoke out on her behalf, saying his sister was not an, quote, animal who tried to kill her daughter out of revenge. What happened to Janella was serious, unthinkable, and irreversible. What happened to my sister is no less serious. Emily's mental illness was something the family saw every day, and it was regrettable it failed to meet the legal definition of insanity, he said. Ariel Castro's daughter has also revealed that she went to school with Amanda Berry, meaning Castro used his daughters to get to know 2 of the 3 women that he allegedly, or did, this is what the article is stating, did hold captive in his house for 10 years. Emily Castro spoke out for the first time in a jailhouse interview with a private investigator. She is actually the last of Castro's children to condemn his crimes. According to reports, Emily Castro was in the car with her father moments before Amanda was abducted in 2003. She said, quote, "It hurts so bad, I feel used. I feel like I'm nothing to him. I'm nothing anymore." She said that her father was a master at keeping secrets, even from his own daughter. When she came to visit him after the girls were abducted, he made subtle excuses to keep her away from his captives. Quote, "The upstairs was blocked off with a big bass speaker, so I figured that since he lived there alone so long, that he didn't have any need for those 4 bedrooms upstairs. When she asked to sleep in her old room, he told her no. He said, quote, 'It's cold up there, it's blocked off, it's dusty.'" That is all I had to add. I just wanted to make sure that that was placed in here. I was not aware of this section of the case, or not really the case, but with the Castro, so I wanted to make sure to add that to the end of this. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button below. If you have any suggestions for videos, true crime or otherwise, you can please leave those in the comments below. If you would like to see more, hit the subscribe button. I will start uploading videos just sort of as they come to me and as I have the time and energy to make quality content like this. Hopefully this was quality. Other than that, I will see you guys next time. Bye.
What was the reaction on the girls' faces? I can't imagine to see the sunlight, to be around people.
I knew something was wrong when a little pretty white girl ran into a black man's arms. Something is wrong here. Dead giveaway. Dead giveaway.
Charles, thank you very much.
Dead giveaway.